Hi, welcome to this week's SmartGlamour video. We are starting a new feature where we do a SmartGlamour roundtable. So this week you are not going to be hearing from me, you're going to be hearing from a panel of wonderful women of color. For this week's roundtable discussion, the ladies will be talking about how their ethnicity intersects with their body image.
So I'm third generation American of Mexican descent, and a lot of my body image issues came into play as a Mexican American descent was because growing up we used to always sit around and watch novelas, which novela women are always blonde hair, blue-eyed, curvy, small waist, big chest, big bottom, and they were glorified and they were always sexualized. So growing up, I always felt that I had to be that, but I wasn't because I was darker, I have dark hair, I have dark eyes, and I obviously wasn't, little waist, big chest, and big butt. And it was like, I kept aspiring for that. I was like, because I wanted to be an actor from a really young age, and I wanted to be a performer and a dancer and a singer really young, and I was like, well, I can't do that because the women that are doing that looked just like this. And it was really damaging because then I would try and make myself look like that. And I would try and make myself, like, I remember bleaching my hair when I was really young and I damaged my hair. And I remember going on extreme diets. I went on one diet that, I want to say I lost 15 pounds within 2 weeks. And I was just really sick for a long time. And it was just bizarre that I had these unrealistic expectations. And then also, too, I don't know if you can relate to this since you're kind of the same descent and background, but in the Mexican culture, they always give you nicknames based on how you look. So,
like flaco
meaning skinny, or my mom to this day calls me gordita, which means chubby. And but I'm like her gordita. But when you're little, you're being constantly called what you look like. And of course, growing up, I was seeing skinny as a positive thing, or fit, curvy as a positive thing. And if they would show anybody that didn't look like that, it was slobby, or you would hear huevona a lot, lazy, meaning they were not put together. So that affected me a lot growing up, and that kind of carried on into high school. And then it kind of, I kind of started introducing myself to theater more, and theater was kind of my outlet to, like, I think we can look like anything because we're all capable of telling stories no matter what we look like, and the world isn't, my world isn't going to be novellas, like that's not what I'm going to aspire to be. But so I had a lot of difficulties with being a Mexican woman, not looking like what Mexican women were always like portrayed as, I guess.
Wow. So I mean, because I'm also second generation, I guess. Yeah, I'm second generation. But I was raised in a house where we didn't watch too much of those shows. I grew up watching Disney and Frasier of all shows. I don't know, ask my father. But I always had a body image, or I just didn't feel comfortable in what I was given. But it never, I feel like the Latina in me never really came to play until I became a middle school teenager.
Several years later, 10 kids, and here I am, the second generation. As far as self-acceptance, in my generation of family, I would say we're all the same color. All of us were dark. My uncles, so as far as identifying, it was something about, I grew up, everybody seemed the same thing, and also my family was Spanish. I have some Italian in my family, my first cousins. So I really didn't have any issues, everything was just, everybody's love, everybody's family. This is family, getting together, everybody loves to eat. We love to get together. Family is important. Growing up, and when I started to get into fashion in high school, that's when I started to see, okay, a lot of my friends were fair skinned. I was always the only dark skinned one. I had Spanish friends, I had, Caucasian friends, but normally I was the dark, crazy, tomboyish girl. So things really don't bother me until, you want to look pretty. You want to see, what you see on TV. You want to be able to relate. But after a while, it took me a long time to feel, okay, I'm just not going to look like these people. And, so you have to be you, celebrate yourself, accept yourself. And where I came from, you know, embrace it and enjoy it. And, you know, in the midst of that, you be yourself, and then you learn, you know, so much more about yourself and the person that you want to be and where you want to go. And that took me a long time to learn, but, you know, I feel so much better about it. And I'm still emotional about it because, you know, it's still a journey, you know, and it's an everyday struggle, especially when you work with people and, you know, you have to work with other personalities, you know, so I really think that on our journey, it's so much to learn, negatives and positives, but, you know, at the end of the day, it's whatever makes you happy, you know, is what really counts.
So I want to talk about Phylicia Rashad, and having the fortune to grow up and seeing her as Claire Huxtable on The Cosby Show. I didn't realize how much it meant to me to see her every Thursday night as a child until The Cosby Show went off the air, and then it was like, I don't see anybody that reminds me of me, because she reminded me of not simply me, but like my mom. If you were to see my mom, you would understand. Like, there's some similarity, but also seeing just a brown skin, a black woman, a lawyer, and it's funny enough as I am an attorney now. But just the idea that on a regular basis that staring back at me on the TV screen was someone who reminded me of me and the women that I knew. Meant so much. I don't think I was even cognizant of how much there wasn't that representation until it went off the air, and it was just like, everybody's white, and and I grew up in a neighborhood that was not heavily white, not at all. I grew up in East New York, Brooklyn, which is mostly black and Latino, and so when TV, for me, seeing things on TV that didn't match my reality, you know, I got a sense of like, is something wrong with what I'm experiencing, or is it something what's wrong on the television screen? I've always been a bit of a critical thinker, so just like, maybe it's the TV's the issue, maybe it's not me. But Claire Huxtable, Phylicia Rashad always mean so much to me, because she was, for me, this like the media representation of me. And when you think about representation as well, there's also representation when it comes to, like, you know, body type, and definitely nothing like that on TV back in the 80s or 90s. Barely see it now, but there's more. It's happening more and more. They're trying, right? They're trying. And,
Trying.
Yeah. I mean, it's coming together, you know, and having the internet be a thing, right? And then blogs be a thing, so people who wouldn't get a space on TV or in the movies create their own space. And, you know, I'm trying to think of the first blog, it's gonna come to me in a moment, that I saw a big girl you know, do her thing in terms of fashion, and for me to feel like, you know, that's what I've been trying to do all this time, because I've, you know, always gravitated towards like pretty clothes. And there was a point growing up where even my mom was just like, actually, I think you might need to shop in the men's store because there's nothing here to fit you. And then having some time, that's another topic, but having that representation on the internet and having it grow over the past like decade and a half, it's been amazing. Yeah,
I agree.
Yeah,
I'm gonna take it back to the like heritage part because I mean, the few shows that we did see, or that I was allowed to see, I was a very sheltered child. All Latina women were like very like overtly sexy, like too much sexy. That, or a maid, or a prostitute, or like somebody, or a criminal, or somebody that like only speaks Spanish in an all English speaking film. And it's like, I want to see something that's real and something that I'm surrounded with too, because I am also surrounded with tons of women, including my mother, including all my family, and a lot of my friends, and they're all brilliant and they're all talented in all their own special ways. And that's the space that I want to see. And it makes me so upset that we can't. I hope that there will be a day where it's there is a movie that's all one race, that's not just white, any race, that's all one race, and the movie is in its entirety is not based on the race. It's just because they cast that's the way that they cast. Because there are countless, there are an infinite amount of movies and TV shows and all that where the entire cast is white and no one says any, like it's not like that's because it's about it's like, no, that's just, it's okay. No one will say anything about it. And so it's I feel like it's been so hard to just see, like, I think the first time that I felt, which is why I ended up doing theater, was when I discovered In the Heights that Lin-Manuel Miranda wrote in 2008. And it was an entire show about brown and black people, and it had nothing to do with like struggling because of our race. It was they were struggling because they were living in New York City, and it's so expensive here.
That one was no color.
It's just the entire show is just black and brown people just like living their life, and it's a story about life, and it's a story about family, and it's our story, and I was like, oh, I can like actually make it in the theater and not always be a maid and not always be, you know, just this like the stereotypical Latina woman in something, because all of us are so much more than that. There's so many dimensions to us. Absolutely. And we're so underrepresented that way. And then recently we were talking too about Diego being in Rogue One, and it blew. I was just like, this is amazing. Like his accent is still there, and it doesn't matter because they're in space. and it's just like that's who he is. Like this is his character, and it was fantastic. I will say that movie made me really happy because of how diverse the casting was. Yeah. Like it really did try really hard to be very diverse. But I feel like
race doesn't push the story forward.
No, not at all. And I love seeing that. And that's what I want to see more of.
And like I always feel wonderful whenever I do see some sort of accurate representation, but unfortunately I rarely ever see it for Latina women. I've seen some wonderful films with powerful Latino men, and that makes me so happy because a lot of Latinos have that like machismo stereotype, and you know they're very oppressive to women, and their women are submissive, and so there's all these stereotypes that kind of float around being a Latino man. But I rarely ever see a Latina woman being celebrated on screen or relating to her. And I remember being really young and watching, I was in high school, but Desperate Housewives. I was so excited because Eva Longoria is from South Texas. She is of Mexican descent. She's a wonderful human, as I've had the opportunity to meet her. But here she was playing a housewife and a brat. And it was just it was putting this very negative stigma on a Latina woman. And then she went off, again, she's a wonderful human, but then she went off to produce a show about maids. And it was a Latina cast about maids. And it drove me nuts because I'm like, we're more than that. There are Latina senators sitting, there are.
Literally sitting right now. They have a seat.
And so I get really excited to see, Latin and Black and Indian and Chinese representation, but then I get, again, just bummed out because the actual representation is a stereotype. And so it kind of drives me in a way too. It gets me angry for a second. I'm like, we are so much more, but you know what, I'm going to change that, or we have to change that. Right. So it's a good thing because we see it, but then it's a bad thing for me because it's just like, it's not right. The one thing that was a hot topic recently was the Sofia Vergara, she comes out at the Golden Globes, and I was like, okay, a Latina's about to present. I'm so excited. And then she just overdid the stereotype, and it just made me angry because me as an actor, I see the casting breakdowns. I see them all the time, and I see the model calls. I see all these sort of casting calls that are, they want Latinas, but they want us to be like that. They expect us to come in with this heavy accent and with these, big breasts and big butts and super cinched waist. And it's like, we're more than that. Why are we in this box? And it's because that's all that's being represented. So it makes me very happy to see some sort of representation, but on the other side, it just makes me sad. And
We just
it,
need to,
it
we just need
drives-
to change the stigma. And you're right. And it's gonna
That's
have
true.
to be us to
And
change it.
It
Otherwise,
takes all of us.
All of us.
All
You
of us
talk
to
about that,
change it.
right?
Because the same with Latina, it's the same with African Americans. You know, they say African Americans are loud. You know, we talk too much, or we can dance. We can sing. We're only celebrated for entertainment purposes.
Right.
Versus, oh, well, did you know this person got their bachelor's degree or their master's doing this, or they achieved so many things, but they're only celebrated for being an artist. It's like you said, Felicia Rashad on the show. We don't have that now because we're in a digital age. It's the internet. And just like how going shopping and as a plus size girl trying to find different brands at affordable prices. That didn't exist for us either, and there weren't as, a range of body types back then. We're still working to change that.
Yeah.
And it really does take everybody. It doesn't matter your race, color, size, like how we have Mallory here presenting this platform for us. It's not about one color and one standard. It's about the whole issue, everybody. And, we have to change that, because if not, we're only going to be, falling behind instead of actually moving forward, as a generation, as a people. And, I think also educating people, about these things makes a difference, versus just showing these stereotypical images on the internet. How are we supposed to have a diverse range of, body types, people, actors, actresses who actually have these traits and these capabilities, but they're not actually put out there. And for the internet, we can find anything on the internet.
Yeah,
right.
It's true.
But people only pick and choose to display what they want because that this might get as many likes. Versus, what about this dark skinned girl? That was made fun of. That's from Africa. She's African American. That's it. She's just from a different background, a different culture. But after everybody made so much fun of her, then it took some time for people to actually see, oh, this is a beautiful girl. I know her name.
I know exactly.
They made her look, they picked so much fun at, her beautiful traits versus, this is just how she was born. This is what she looks like, and this isn't the stereotype. This is just this person who was born from this country and from her family, and this is what she should be accepted as.
Right. Yeah.
So I think people still have a long way to go to accept everyone as a whole and what they're capable of, and as far as being people as a as just a whole, getting along together, and
Right.
working. A lot of people are still anti against, oh, this person worked with this person and this and that, instead of just saying, oh, she did a great job on that show, I want to work with her. Not because she's this, but because what she's able to do. What you can bring to the table.
I think us as women of color, we need to put ourselves forward so we can start representing and putting these positive images out there. So
Indeed, yeah.
I think we need to just really take advantage of all these. We're kind of lucky we live in this digital age. We're lucky we have so many different platforms. There's things like Twitter that is just, of course, one of the most popular forms of getting news. And so I think us as women of color need to keep pushing other races forward too, not just ours, and celebrate each other and just keep pushing and pushing. It's going to be an uphill battle, but it's so worth it because people did it before for us.
Course.
Right.
Because we're lucky enough to even be sitting here together because back, 50 years ago, this wouldn't have been allowed, So I think we're going to have to be kind of like those pioneers for this uphill battle, pushing other races for we're finally out there, we're represented, but now we need to put that actual representation of us and the positive representations of our backgrounds and of our friends' backgrounds that don't get to be. I have a couple of friends who are actors as well, and they're of Indian descent, and they tell me all the time, I get called in for IT guys, I get called in for call center parts. It drives me nuts because one of the girls, she was actually in one of the shows I produced. Her parents both have these amazing degrees, they're doctorates, these have collegiate, studies under their belts, and I'm like, that's the roles that we need, or that's the type of representation that we need to push forward. And we need to truly take advantage of all these I guess, social like tools we have in our hands. So we need to keep pushing our Facebook shares of all these beautiful women and trans women too. I really want to push that image. That's something that's one of my long-term goals, is to get the trans women representation out there, and to get more LGBT women out there, and just all these groups that have been marginalized and really kind of their names have been tarnished. It's funny because whenever people ask, like, so where are you from? Like, what's your deal? And I'm like, well, I'm of Mexican descent. And it's almost like saying a bad word now. It's almost like our current political, people in office have tarnished the word Mexican. And they have tarnished, Mexican women. So they have tarnished these things. So I feel like it's our time, girls. This is our time to use Twitter, use Instagram, use Snapchat, use all these things to keep pushing our positiveness forward and just make it like so loud. I mean, we have to. It was set up for us as women, and now we have to set it up for women of color.
Yes. And it's so funny, as you were talking about, Mexican being sort of like a bad word, and I didn't remember. It's like I forgot for a second that we have this climate where Mexicans are being so maligned, by our politicians, and it reminds me that some of this we have to just not accept what's being. I don't accept it. Don't support it. I don't accept it. Be resistant. There's this talk right now of like coming to the table and having conversations with people, and I mean, yes, I'm all for. We're having a conversation now. Great, let's have we should have conversations. But if someone has a position that is detrimental, if it's to be carried out, detrimental to my existence, no, we're not going to have a conversation. We're not having the time for conversation. I mean, we could, unless you want to hear my demands, then we're not having a conversation. Because I'm going to resist someone telling me that Mexicans are bad people and they're rapists. I'm going to resist that. I'm not going to accept that and take that in and absorb that. You know what I mean? I'm going to resist the idea that black women, as another example, black women are angry if we draw. I resist that. I'm not going to take that in. You know what I mean? The angry face. Well, I'm not going to take that in. To the point where my Mexican sister says to me, I tell people that I'm Mexican is a bad thing. I'm like, why would they think that? You're like beautiful and gorgeous and glowing. Like, why would they look at you and say, oh, but that's no, obviously not. And I do think it does take that standing firm. You know what I mean? In that I'm love, we're all love, and we're all different representations of love, and that you're gonna love me. Whether you like it or not, but you're gonna love me. You know what I mean? Like, you gotta stand firm in that. So I do think that pushing forward, but keeping firm and standing firm in that as well is what's needed. Yeah.
I hope you enjoyed the Smart Glamour video. If you did, please like, comment, and share. If you're watching on our YouTube channel, don't forget to subscribe. Have a great week.